All right, let's dive right into this 6-minute overview of exactly what you need to do with your CPF at every single decade of your life to truly secure your retirement. If you're serious about mastering your financial future, this explainer is going to map out the exact strategy you need. We aren't going to spend time on the basics of what the Central Provident Fund actually is. You already know all that. Instead, we're focusing entirely on the compounding clock. Because here's the thing. Every decade of your life requires a completely different strategy, and the decisions you make right now will permanently alter your retirement income at age 65. But hey, before we break things down by your specific age, let's look at a bit of a mathematical shock factor to see exactly how much a 10-year delay is actually costing your retirement. We so often tell ourselves that we'll start optimizing our accounts later, right? When we have more disposable income. But the CPF isn't just a standard savings account, it's a 40-year financial instrument. And to understand how it really works, we just need to ask one very simple question. What exactly happens to a single, one-time $10,000 contribution over time?
Well, the answer brilliantly illustrates the irreplaceable advantage of time. There is a stark, almost unbelievable contrast between a $10,000 special account top-up made at age 30 versus that exact same top-up made at age 54. The effort on your part is literally identical. You're putting in 10 grand. The only variable that has changed here is the clock.
So, if you put that 10 grand in at age 30 and just let it compound at that guaranteed 4% per year, it becomes approximately $43,000 by the time you hit 65. Just think about that for a second. That is a 330% return on your initial capital, and you didn't even have to lift a finger. You didn't have to monitor the stock market or stress over economic downturns. It just sat there, quietly feeding the compound interest machine. Now, what if you wait until age 54 to make that exact same top-up? That 10 grand only grows to $16,000. It proves that time isn't just a helpful factor here. It is absolutely the primary variable. The exact same cash layout yields almost 3 times less, purely because it lacked the runway to grow. So this is the foundational arithmetic we're going to use as we walk through every decade of your life. Let's start with your 20s. First up, your 20s. This is where you build your foundation and really learn the system. The absolute most crucial thing in your 20s is patience. Right now, you have the highest ordinary account, or OA, allocation of your entire life. 23% of your salary is flowing straight into it. Your special account receives a much smaller 6% slice. You probably log into your dashboard, see that SA balance and think, it's too small to matter. But listen, your SA compounding clock has quietly started. The heavy lifting is already beginning in the background. Your primary goal right now is to learn the system and build that OA foundation for your future housing needs. So, what's really vital here is what you shouldn't do. The biggest mistake is locking up those OA funds early or rushing into an irreversible OA to SA transfer before your housing plans are totally settled. Look, at 25, moving money from your OA earning 2.5% to your SA earning 4% seems mathematically brilliant. But once you transfer it, it can never come back. If you suddenly need that OA money for a flat a few years down the line, you're stuck. And on that note, don't rush property either. Every single year you wait is another year your OA compounds without an accrued interest clock running against you. Moving on to your 30s. Without a doubt, this is your most important decade. If you only take one thing away from this entire explainer, let it be this. Your 30s are absolutely the most consequential decade for your CPF. This is where you have to transition from passively letting accounts grow to actively supercharging them. If you don't start voluntary SA top-ups at 35, you are permanently leaving over $50,000 in compound interest on the table. Let me break that math down for you. If you have 50 grand in your SA at age 35, it becomes roughly $110,000 by age 55. But if you wait until 45 to hit that $50,000 balance, it only grows to $74,000. That 10-year delay just cost you $36,000 on a single $50,000 chunk. And here's the harsh reality. No amount of aggressive top-ups at age 45 can recover that lost time. Time simply doesn't work backward. Let's project ahead for a second to check your trajectory. We're looking at an estimated full retirement sum, or FRS, of roughly $330,000 by the time today's 35-year-olds hit 50. If your SA balance is $30,000 today, it projects to only about $66,000 at age 55. That leaves a massive 6-figure gap to the full retirement sum. And frankly, most 35-year-olds fall right into that bucket. But there is good news. This gap is completely closable. However, it can only be closed by claiming your annual tax relief and starting voluntary cash top-ups right now. Seriously, even $2,000 or $3,000 a year makes a massive, massive dent.
Next up, your 40s. This is your efficiency window and your highest return years. Entering your 40s, the dynamic shifts yet again. You likely have a higher income now, maybe moving into that 15 to 18% marginal tax bracket. This makes your 40s your highest return CPF window. You want to maximize your efficiency here before time runs out, mainly because the top-ups actually cost you way less out of pocket thanks to the significant tax savings you get in return. Every year of delay now has a permanent cost. So first things first, lock in your $8,000 annual top-ups to maximize that tax relief. At higher income brackets, that $8,000 top-up might only effectively cost you about $6,500 after tax savings. Pretty great, right? Next, seriously consider topping up your parents' retirement accounts for even more tax relief. And finally, this is the time to precisely calculate your remaining gap to the FRS and review the accrued interest on your property. You have enough data now to model exactly where you're going to land at 55.
And that brings us to your 50s, the final countdown as the window begins to close. As we hit your 50s, a ticking clock begins. Turning 55 is the single most massive structural event in your CPF life. The rules of the game are about to change entirely, and you have a very short runway to make your final strategic moves. You really need to understand the absolute finality of this moment. The pre-55 window is the only time you can actively contribute to your SA. Why? Because the moment you turn 55, a retirement account is created, your SA balances are swept right into it up to the prevailing FRS, and then your SA closes as a top-up destination permanently. From 55 onwards, you can no longer direct voluntary cash top-ups to your special account. The door completely shuts.
Because of that hot deadline, you have to urgently execute a pre-55 countdown checklist to maximize your retirement account formation. You need to make your final large SA cash top-ups right now. If your OA balance is large and your housing situation is completely settled, this is your very last clear window to execute that OA to SA transfer. Maximizing your balance to hit the FRS before you turn 55 guarantees the largest possible retirement account at formation, which directly translates into your absolute maximum monthly CPF life payouts starting from age 65. The decisions made here cannot be undone, so you have to get this right.
At the end of the day, the argument for starting early, especially back in your 30s, isn't about motivation or feeling inspired. It's about cold, hard arithmetic. Every single year of delay literally costs you thousands in guaranteed interests. The compound interest machine is already running in the background of your life right this very second, which leaves you with one final urgent question to answer today. Are you feeding it?